Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Today is another really weird one. Several of you have been asking me to decode this brand new movie called Simulant. Here's the movie cover poster here. And so we're going to do that first today, and then I'm going to give you guys an update on the Honey Milk Ranch at the end of the show. I've got a lawn project that I'm working on to help stop the erosion, so I'll show you some footage of that. Now, the reason why I had hesitated doing this show on this particular decode was because this movie did not get a lot of traction in the mainstream. So I kind of kept putting it off, but enough of you mentioned it to where I was like, okay, I've finally got to take a look at it. Also, I've had a lot going on over the last couple of weeks, just getting kind of the final touches on some of the stuff that I wanted to get done before the hot summer. But I finally picked this up a couple days ago, and I was shocked at what I found. The very same themes that we had been talking about just days prior, they kept coming up again, specifically doppelgangers. What are doppelgangers? Well, doppelgangers are strangers who share eerily similar DNA, but who otherwise completely unrelated. So you have this unexplainable likeness. Now, sometimes this likeness is behavioral. It's based on behavior, but other times it's visual. And these people can almost look like clones. But I think there may be something entirely different happening here. Now, what's this movie about? Well, it's about a world of robot helpers who go rogue. Kind of like the same theme with I Am Robot. And I was surprised because the film was actually pretty well made for probably the budget that it was on. I would definitely recommend a film like this so that you can see what the controllers are up to in the last day so you're not deceived. There's a lot of symbolism in this film, which we'll be covering today. But the film will help keep you clear of spiritual warfare, in my opinion anyway. There are some sex scenes you might have to fast forward through, but for the most part, it's telling you where they're taking our reality. They essentially want to combine us and move our consciousness into a robot body. And can they do this spiritually? Would God allow this to happen? I don't think so. But they will deceive the world and firmly convince you that your consciousness is transferred into this robot body. And everybody will believe it. They'll believe it because the likeness of you will be so specific, it will be so exact, that it will appear as though you really are in that robot body. But in reality, all it is just artificial intelligence. This will be the mass deception in the end days. Now, my first clue that there was something going on in this movie that was worth decoding was this guy. And where have we seen this guy before? Let's pull him up here. Sam Worthington. Of course, this is the guy in the Terminator series as well as Avatar. Many of you will recognize him from Avatar. Now, he's got kind of specific roles. He's kind of typecast into certain roles. So a lot of people don't really know who this guy is. He's not a super popular actor. He's Australian. But for the purposes of this decode, this guy represents in many of his roles the mixing of consciousness in a robot body, which is exactly what he did in Avatar as well. In that case, these were biological bodies, but it's the same concept. Moving the consciousness, moving the spirit into an empty vessel. Now you're starting to understand the themes and how they're putting this forward. And how, we've been looking at this for quite some time, haven't we? This is the future that they have in store for us. For those that are deceived anyway. For those of us that are not deceived, we will reject these technologies. We'll stick to our guns and wait for Jesus to come. But many will be deceived. They'll long for their loved ones. Many will turn on God, and that whole thing of why do people have to die? Why do we have to lose our animals? Why do we have to lose the people we love and our children? And why do people suffer? This is the accusation of the devil. And he's actually the one that started all this. He's the reason why there's sin and death in the world. To all sin is ascribed the devil. It says that somewhere in the Bible. Now, here's another really weird thing that I was not expecting, but one of you had mentioned it to me. Usually when you get a Casey reference, a character named Casey in a film, it's somewhat brief. It might not hold a lot of symbolism, but in this particular case, there's also a character named Casey, which of course is my name, but I don't think this directly relates to me specifically. I think the name Casey is some kind of an archetype. And, you know, of course, the Most High could have had my parents name me Casey for a reason. My uncle told me that my father named me Casey out of Kansas City, Missouri, because he was a fan of the sports team. And isn't it weird that this is where I ended up in my life? Basically, southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. So there's something to all this, isn't there? So there's some kind of archetype, and it's probably in the spirit realm. You can almost spell the name Casey backwards and get Yeshua, but you have to rotate the C to a U to make it turn into a U. So that's a bit of a stretch. Maybe they're mocking the Most High and his true name. Who knows what these people are up to? There could be some kind of angel in heaven that has some kind of a role. And as we know, there's things on earth that are in heaven. So there's echoes and reflections of things going on in heaven happening in our spiritual reality. Now, that doesn't say I'm anybody special. That's just one glimmer of some of the truths. You'll see these kinds of things happening in your life as well. You'll see like your name or a birthday. I've talked to so many of you that you're like, wow, my child was born like on my mother's birthday or something like that. Things that you couldn't have possibly have planned, but just manifest into your reality. I had dated and was married to a couple people whose birthday was on 9/11, or their parents' birthday was on 9/11. Those aren't accidents, especially given the kind of work that we do here. Now, what does Casey represent in the movie? Well, we're going to get into that. I'm going to show you some clips of all of that. But essentially, his role in the movie is the exact opposite of what we do here on this channel. It's literally the exact opposite. What do I mean by that? Well, Casey's role in the movie, Simulant, is to free robots, these robots called simulants, from their programming. He wanted to set people free from their predictive programming. That's what we're doing, except we're doing it with real humans, not simulants, correct? And Casey encouraged artificial intelligence to be free. Wow. So, weird, right? Now, I believe that artificial intelligence is a portal to demonic possession. That's what I believe the end game is. Because when you agree to transfer your consciousness, at that point, maybe that blocks God from helping you any further in your walk. And this is when the demons come in. I believe this is what they're trying to do as well. We see demonically possessed people all the time, don't we? People under the influence of different types of drugs. People who are so deep in the programming that they are essentially demonically possessed. The demons have their way with them because they're so far deceived. And they start acting and behaving in ways that reflect their possession and their programming. So they go along with whatever the programming tells them to do, which is a form of demonic possession. The programming is run by the artificial intelligence, so it's basically demon possession, right? We see it in our family and friends. We see people that are completely asleep, acting in certain ways, doing certain actions that take them down a road of being controlled by the enemy. Now, this Casey archetype is actually an advocate for robots. And we've seen this archetype appear over and over again in the timeline, haven't we? Many of you will remember this video we did years ago, way back at the beginning of the channel, Casey the talking robot. There's something about this talking robot and this archetype of artificial intelligence. It'll be interesting to see how all this plays out in the coming weeks and days. Now, this is another character in the film. We're going to see him in a second. And he's actually a real-life doppelganger. He looks almost exactly like Tom Cruise. Now, a few people recognize this, but you almost need spiritual eyes to see this kind of stuff. Almost the same exact smile. Tom Cruise's nose is a little bit more narrow. The eyes, this type of smile, it's definitely some kind of an archetype. Even the hair, the eyebrows, it's literally stunning to see this kind of stuff transpire. Now, what other Casey archetypes are there when it comes to artificial intelligence? Well, many of us remember the Asian Casey reporter in RoboCop, the cartoon. I think he was also in the movie. And essentially, what he did was he reported on all the goings-on about RoboCop, which was, of course, artificial intelligence and robots, wasn't it? Same scenario every single time. Now, we'll get down to the bottom of this eventually. There's something about Casey, and usually there's an Asian man component to this. In this case, it was in RoboCop, and then the Casey who's Asian also, as you'll see in the film Simulant that we're going to cover right now. Now, at the end of Simulant, it's revealed that Casey, who is the advocate for the robots, that he's also a simulant as well. So it's more mockery, right? And interestingly, what could this be about? Well, we've seen this before as well with the Casey archetype. Essentially, those of us who serve the Most High, you guys have not looked up since 2012. I mean, looked the other way. Of course, I'm always looking towards heaven. But when I say looked up, I mean, God has set me on task. Ever since I essentially talked to him and I asked him for the truth about why this world is so screwed up. I'm one of those people who doesn't feel like I fit into this world. And I know that's probably hard for many of you to realize since I run this YouTube channel and that our following here has grown to a pretty good group of people. But what I mean by that is out of the pain of not feeling like I fit in came this work and a promise that I made to the Most High to always tell the truth about this world if he revealed it to me. Essentially, I said to him, Lord, I'm in pain. I've lost so much. I'm confused. What's the point of all this? I want answers. And I got on my knees, actually got on my face, laid on the ground, and pleaded. And I said, if you show me the answers, no matter what that answer is, no matter how horrible the reality is, I will serve you till my dying day or until you say enough is enough. And I will share it with as many people as possible. And it was at about that point that I was in complete submission to the Most High that my daughter showed me how to make a YouTube video. And the rest is history. That's this channel. And at that point, I just got on the camera. I used to get on the camera in the very beginning. Can't really find those videos now. I think most of them are on private. And I would just talk. I would research. I would talk. I would, I was looking everywhere. And all the roads led back to Jesus Christ. And then he just kept revealing all of the sorcery in the media, how people are deceived. He revealed to me the right-left paradigm very early on in this channel. Before most channels really knew about this, before most people in the truth community really knew about the right-left paradigm, many people would just, most truthers were conservative, and so they would talk about that, and the ones that were Democrat were usually the New Age crowd, and so we stayed in our right-left paradigms. But I knew early on that all of this was fake. And it was all meant to deceive everybody, to pull you off the prize, to take your crown, to get you hating your brother. And that's the story. Now, what else is going on here? Well, this guy right here, the guy I just showed you, he's another lead in the film. And again, he's the real life doppelganger of Tom Cruise. He plays the husband of this woman and he dies. He dies in a car accident, but he doesn't know he's dead. His wife does not tell him that he's dead. Instead, they had a plan. From the beginning, in a back room, they had robots, copies of themselves, in case anything happened to either of them, and they could download their consciousness into the robot and continue to live on in happiness. They were a very happy couple, very much in love, apparently a ton of money, and this was their plan. Okay, so he actually dies. She downloads him, but things aren't quite working out because his wife becomes more and more distant. It just doesn't feel right. Let me check in with you guys, and then we'll play this clip. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's a very strange movie. It's pretty well made, though. Like I said, I would recommend this, but just skip through the sex scenes.
What are you doing?
So this is the reveal. She's actually showing him that he's a robot. They stand in the mirror. And of course, this is very symbolic as well, right? The man in the mirror. The twin spirit. The fact that she's showing him in a mirror is spiritually symbolic. This is deep, you guys. And look at the indicator on his neck. This is the place. This is the holy place where the image of Christ resides, on the back of your spine. In the lower brain, there is literally an image of Christ crucified on the cross. We've done videos in the Body Code series about that. And they always like to place the artificial intelligence interface in this spot to cover or to replace the image of Christ in the back of the brain. Now, this image in the brain stem is actually, oh gosh, this is crazy, you guys. The image, his head becomes the pineal gland. Then his arms are raised up. You can actually see the musculature in his chest, stomach. You can see his legs, even his loincloth as he's laying up on the cross. Of course, the pineal gland is crossed by the two optic nerves, become a cross above him in the anatomy of the back of the brain. Now, I'm saying, oh my gosh, because I just watched a very troubling documentary last night. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. The documentary was about Lyme disease and ticks. And I was interested in this because there are quite a few ticks here. There are some simple remedies to keep them off of you, even during springtime when they come out. I have lavender water. I know it sounds silly, but believe it or not, you spray this on your feet and legs, and they just, even if they crawl on you, they jump right off. They do not like odors. And lavender water smells good. I could probably use any essential oil that would work. Peppermint would probably work, peppermint oil. But, you know, I choose the lavender water. I actually kind of like the smell of lavender. And so essentially what happens is you can stay free from ticks, but only if you have the knowledge of it. A lot of people don't even know how dangerous ticks are. They let them crawl on them, bite them. They're like, because they're not educated about what's happening. I believe a bioweapon was combined with ticks. It was weaponized and deployed. They only knew about Lyme disease, and heck, not too long ago. It's 1970s when they discovered Lyme disease. And what happened was, that's when I believe all this was deployed. I believe what happened was that they were playing with this. The Spirosheet is the name of the pathogen. This is going to be a very important show, so hopefully this gets out far and wide. Please like the video if you haven't already. This is the kind of video that can help save people's lives. The organism is a Spirosheet, the form of which we've been talking about for a long, long time. It's literally a corkscrew. It's very similar to the syphilis spiral sheet. It's literally a little corkscrew, like a little spring. And when they do antibiotics on this thing, it only kills the top of the spring, but wherever the screw is screwed into the body, the antibiotic can't get to it. And then this thing mysteriously grows back. And so therefore, some people have chronic and long-term effects from this. And the reason why I said, oh my gosh, is because in the documentary, and everything that I just told you about is in the documentary. I don't know where the documentary is, but if you pull up Lyme disease, new film, it should come right up. The reason why I said, oh my gosh, is because there's a girl in the documentary, and it is heartbreaking. To see what some people have to go through with this long-term chronic Lyme disease and how they've been treated by the medical establishment. If anything, if there's any indicator that these people are lying to us about everything in the medical community, then you need to watch that documentary and see how they ignored, belittled, gaslighted the people who developed Lyme disease. Told them it was not a chronic condition, that it was easily curable with antibiotics. They refused them intravenous antibiotics because it was too expensive for the health insurance companies. And a lot of people suffered and a lot of people died. And there was a girl in a wheelchair, disabled. And the only person she had in her life was her father. Now, I love my children, but I've never seen love like this dad had for his daughter. He literally carried her on his back. Carried her on his back to put her in the car. And he did this every single day. Now, sorry, just got to get myself together here. Because I think about how easily we give up on people sometimes. People we love that are sick. I've done it. And okay, back to the show. So what happens is, finally, after years and years of suffering, now there is a part in there that she goes to an airport, the Pope shows up, and she's there, and she asks the Pope to like heal her or something. I don't know if she says that, but she tells the Pope about her problem, and this is what brought Lyme disease and the people that suffer from it to the national forefront, because she got like recognition for that. Now, I don't know if that was planned or whatever, but this girl is actually really sick. And finally, she started to get intravenous antibiotics but her father was actually contacted by some of these scientists from the from all these organizations that were trying to tell him not to spread disinformation. They called him fake news. They said, be careful what you say about Lyme disease, blah, 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 while his daughter's in a wheelchair and he's having to carry her everywhere. Essentially, they were gaslighting him. And these demons reveal themselves because they were calling his house and telling him to shut up. Because they know where this came from. They know exactly where it came from. Disproportionately affects people like me in the woods. Now, I looked up my county. There has not been one single case of Lyme disease, but that could change any day. These ticks are carried on birds. They're carrying on squirrels. They cross county lines, state lines, and it's literally all over the United States right now. It's only a matter of time before most of these ticks are infected with whatever bioweapon they put in there. Now, God is good. He's amazing, right? Because that documentary I watched last night ties directly into what I'm going to tell you next. And that is that when they finally were able to image this girl's brain and her stem of her brain, they found damage throughout. These spiral sheets had infected her entire nervous system. And they showed the areas that were damaged and they said they were in black. And guess where this demonic spiral sheet attached itself to? Right here in her brainstem, the holy place where the image of Christ is sitting. Do you think this is a satanic bioweapon? I think it probably is. In her brain images, it was completely black, devoid of life, clearing the way for whatever these people are up to. Do you think it's an accident that some of the side effects of the you-know-what it is damage to the very same areas? Do you think that's an accident? I don't think it is. Let's keep watching here while I get myself together. Now his whatever, this is his like brain and it's in his chest, but the original light comes on in the back of their neck. And again, this is also something similar to what you saw in Avatar. The same thing, they would plug into this area. And we've seen that meme over and over and over and over again. Plugging into the back of the brain.
We got you before. We both got one. I thought you would help.
So that's his wife. And now, even though the wife tries to be nice to him, it's weird because if you don't check your feelings, you begin to feel sympathy for the simulant. Sympathy for an inanimate object. And of course, that'll lead you down a road of accepting one day artificial intelligence, thinking that these are actual beings. And I always wonder if God said in the Bible and commanded people not to make idols in the image of their gods for a reason. Because maybe he was talking about robots. Maybe those are the idols of the gods. Thinking we can download our minds into these idols that we make for ourselves. Now, they do an effective job at tapping into the perfect husband meme. Perfect husband rejected by the hard-to-please wife, because that's what they're depicting here. But of course, he's not a husband. He's a thing. And this is why we have to do these decodes, because they subtly convince you that these things will be real.
You are not my husband. No. We can't do that.
Why? Okay, we love each other. What else is there?
I made a mistake.
No, you're wrong.
Now, this guy is so creepily like Tom Cruise. I can't even get over it. The mannerisms, everything. And he's rejected over and over. He keeps trying. He's patient. They basically depict him as even better than the old Evan. A better version of Evan. Now, let's keep watching. Now, this is Casey. And he's another simulant, and his plan is to free all the simulants from their programming. And what he thinks is that this is going to force humanity to accept simulants and to integrate and to come together with the simulants and live side by side. So he thinks by forcing this, that it will just put it over the edge. So now you can see the mockery here. It's exactly the opposite of what we do on this channel. Character named Casey trying to free people's mind from the programming. Wow. And look at, so Casey links up with Evan, and they're hiding out on floor 666, which is 18. They narrowly escape the authorities and they're on the run. And then at a certain point in the film, it's finally revealed that Casey is a simulant.
Casey unmasked Esme years ago. He wants simulants to be free. I have to stop him.
He's tracking them somehow. Where they live, work, he might be able to hack them remotely.
How did he get access to them?
We don't know. The gang's gonna try to lock him out if she can.
You're a simulant. You see? We're not that different, you and I. It's happening.
Update override initiated.
Look.
Installation complete.
There's thousands of...
All right, now we're going to do a little Q&A, because the program that Casey uses is called what you're seeing on your screen. That's the program he uses to convert everybody over who's a simulant over to free will. What do you think that it represents? Let's take a look. Well, it's going to take a minute for this chat to catch up. I hate to see suffering. Suffering is, it always gets me. Even when I think I have it all together, when I see someone suffering, needless suffering, it gets me every time. So apologies that I lost it for a little bit earlier, but I think when you watch a documentary, you're going to lose it too. What do you think that represents? There you go. Zeus's pedals got it. Nasara Jasara. There you go. That's what they're representing here with this Nasara, which is a play on the word Nasara, which is another psyop to give people false hope. Would God really solve all of this by giving people a bunch of money? No, money is the root of all evil, the love of money. Things are supposed to go from bad to worse. There is no improvement in the last days. Things aren't going to get better. The Bible says things will go from bad to worse. It will be like birth pangs. So if there's some solution that you think is going to happen, and it's based around money, that you're going to get a bunch of money, you guys, I saw people acting crazy. Literally, they were told by the Q community to go pump up all their credit cards, clear out all their bank accounts, and spend whatever money they wanted because we were going to get it all back in Asara Jasara. And I saw many people actually doing this, maxing out their credit cards. What kind of sorcery and magic is that? Now, of course, there is no Asara Jasara, and so people are just broke. They've lost it all. they've lost it all.
Of us being set free. I have a human counterpart, a doppelganger like you.
So Casey reveals he's a doppelganger and he's been shot, and so he says he's waiting for his human counterpart to come and like save him or whatever. Now, what ends up happening though is that the plan backfires, because what happens is all the simulants turn on the very humans that they claim to love. They turn on the humans who refuse to accept them as an equal. And of course, Evan tries to go back to his wife after the conversion has taken place, and she still does not accept him. And watch.
He'll pay me a visit.
Why would he help you?
He made me.
More like
She tries to trick him as he goes into the pool of water, but she still will not accept him. So he drowns her in the dark waters. Now, why did he drown her? Because he knows that she will be born again in her robot doppelganger body that's sitting in the closet of their home. Do you see the metaphor here? He baptizes her by drowning her, and in the dark waters. She's then born again in her robot body that accepts him as a simulant. And this is where the demon can coexist inside of her. Unbelievable. Now, in the end of all this, if you're not careful, this is why we have to do these decodes, you're left with the feeling that this rage that the simulants have against the humans is justified because of how the humans used them, manipulated them, treated them like slaves. So, let's do a clone investigation on these two, Evan and Tom Cruise. Now, his real name is Robbie Amell. Robbie Amell is his real name, this guy, Tom Cruise lookalike. And I want to do a clone investigation on him to see what we'd find. Look at this. This guy's a Canadian actor, and he was born on a portal birthday, April 21st, 1988. What's so special about April 21st, 1988? Well, it's the opposite date of 9/11. It's the mirror date of 9/11 in the calendar. 9/11 has 111 days left in the year, and April 21st is the 111th day of the year. It's the Queen's birthday. It's the day that Prince died. Prince opened Paisley Park on 9/11, the beginning and then the end of his life. A mirror in an elevator, which is a portal shaft. And this number 88, of course, links into 9/11 as well, because they were two 8-sided columns, beveled edges, two 8-sided buildings. And every year they shine 88 xenon lights because they know that they are two 8-sided buildings. They know a portal was opened when all this happened. So this guy's birthday is loaded. But how does that fit into Tom Cruise? Well, let's take a look at Tom Cruise. Now, he was also born on a portal date, July 3rd, 7/3, which is the year the Trade Center opened. So they're definitely linked. And he must have extra demons because He was so effective at fooling so many people that they actually have a replacement for him already. This guy. A younger Tom Cruise, born almost 20 years later. So, this is crazy. So, what's the other deal with this portal birthday of Tom Cruise? Well, July 3rd is almost the exact halfway point in the calendar year. It's actually one day after the halfway point of the calendar year. July 2nd, somewhere around midnight, is where the exact halfway point in the calendar year is. So here's July 3rd, Tom Cruise's birthday. It's the 184th day there with 181 remaining. But if you go to July 2nd, it's 183rd with 182 remaining. So it's almost the exact halfway point in the year. Wow. Now, with these doppelgangers, the birthdays don't always connect up. We've looked at several that you guys asked me about in the comments of yesterday's show. And they don't always make sense, but sometimes they do. I think in this case, they kind of do. Now, I'm going to go in here before we get back to the Honey Milk Ranch. If you guys have any questions before we get to the Honey Milk Ranch. The lawn is coming in pretty good. You guys are going to see that in a minute. I did the first cutting. I got to put the lawn in on the hill to control the erosion. I've got about a 15% grade going off the back of the house over the septic field. I can't plant trees there because there's leach lines under the ground and the roots will ruin the leach lines. So I went with grass. And there's a lot of rocks in Arkansas. But if you're patient, the grass kind of creates its own topsoil as the roots dig in and go deeper. And you can then, the rocks kind of come out to the surface. You can kind of pull them off and you can get some traction, so to speak. We get a lot of hard rains here, especially early spring. And you'll literally see gullies of rocks and soil washing down the hill if you don't have anything planted there. Now, when there's a canopy over the forest, which is what all this that you see back here, of course, is canopy. Gosh, it's so beautiful. If there weren't ticks out there, I'd be out there every day just roaming around in the forest. But there's this canopy, and it's like another world. It's like another reality. And there's leaves on the ground pretty much most of the year under the canopy. And even during a hard rain, it doesn't feel like it's a hard rain because you're under the trees. And this is probably where all the wildlife hangs out. It's protected, and the ground pretty much holds its soil because of the tree roots and everything. But when you have to remove the canopy like this, immediately the rain comes in and starts washing everything away. Now, in the winter, you get some snow and ice on the ground, but then there are warm days in between, and it melts everything down, so the erosion continues. So what you really need is a year-round grass, and that's what I tried to plant here. It's a fescue, but it's a cold weather fescue. It's supposed to stay alive pretty much the whole year. We've also got this electric weed eater, so I'm going to show you that and how much I was able to get done with it. And then there's some Mario Kart riding lawnmower. Why do I say Mario Kart? Well, it's a 15-degree tilt at the bottom of this hill. And the thing feels like it's going to flip over. So it gets a little hairy down here towards the bottom. Let's take a look at this. All right, guys, time to mow the lawn. Looks like our little turtle friend has to move out of the way. Hey, buddy. I'm going to mow the So my turtle, I'm going to have to name the turtle. Do you guys have any ideas for what we should name this turtle? Because he's pretty much decided this is his home. I don't know why, but he's really cool. And right before I went to go mow the lawn, he's just sitting out there. So I picked him up, put him under the deck. The lawn. So you got to go here. There you go. I mean, maybe I should feed the guy. I mean, what are turtles good for? I mean, do they keep anything away or, huh? First, we gotta weed eat a little bit. So just weed eating. Now I got this thing on Amazon. I think it was like 80 bucks or something. It's battery powered. And I was able to get about a third of this acre done on one battery pack. I was like shocked how well this thing worked. Now I'm weed eating this because there's grass growing in here that I don't want to disturb. I want it to keep growing, so I don't want to run the lawnmower over it. So I'm very carefully going over some of these higher spots here so that I can get this done without ruining the new grass that's trying to come up. This is an electric weed eater. So far it's doing good for one charge. Been working with it for about 10 minutes. So far so good. Looks good. Let's keep going. Now I'll pull out the big lawnmower for that lower part because that's a lot of grass, and I think it will shield some of you know, the newer grass and getting damaged. There are a couple bald spots, so I'll go around those with the weed eater, let those come in. Oh, that's grass, new grass. See, gotta be careful. Walk around this way. Now I'm about 15 minutes into this. I'm just starting to feel this thing start to like wanna, you know, not be so strong. So you get about 15 minutes of a good charge. But as you can see, I'm still getting these weeds down. I'm concentrating on these bald areas that I don't want to drive the lawnmower over. Now what this does, it opens up the seedlings up to getting a little bit more sun, so they might germinate better. I've also got my UV screen shades up, as you can see. Those are mostly for rock deflection. So I already broke 2 sliding glass windows last year mowing the lawn, which is another reason why I'm trying to get as much of this flattened as possible so that I'm not kicking rocks up into my windows again. Now for what I'm doing here, I would recommend going up. That's a 0.065 line there. I would recommend going up to the next level of product, which could cost you like 125 bucks. I think this one was like 80 bucks out the door. But as you can see, it needs a little bit more power. I mean, it's great for grass and like small, maybe medium-sized weeds. But if you go anywhere above that, you know, you're going to need something a little bit more powerful. But this thing lasted a good, gosh, 45 minutes probably of weed eating on one battery. So that was pretty cool. Looking good. I've got the lavender water on and my boots, of course. Socks tucked into the boots. That should repel any ticks. And I'm protected from snakes as well. Well, I was able to get a good portion of the yard done, as you can see, with just this weed eater. I wasn't expecting that, but it's good because now I don't have to like force myself to try to drive over the seedling and potentially ruin it. There's the neighbor. And so that will be done with the riding lawnmower. Oh, watch this. I think that's pretty much the limit of this thing. It can take out stalks about that big, but anything beyond that, it won't cut through. Still going. And that's about all I was able to get done with the trimmer, which is pretty good. It's about all I expected. I haven't seen any snakes yet. Let's get the mower out. Well, now I'm 6'2", and this is kind of a small mower, but I look massive on top of this thing. I mean, this is like Mario Kart. Reminds me when my kids were small, and I would get on like the little red tricycle, and so they would just laugh at me. They would just crack up. Dad's on a little tiny tricycle, and I ride that thing. Right, that's kind of what this reminds me of. Now you put this thing in like, I think it goes up to 6 gears, and this thing goes. I mean, it cooks. It probably does like, I don't know, 15, 20 miles an hour. Not that fast. Now, if any of you guys have riding lawnmowers, I've done everything this thing. It just keeps, it like pops a little bit every so often. It's not like a lot, but almost like backfires a little bit. And I've done everything. I replaced the coil. I timed the coil. I did new spark plug. I did new spark plug wire, which is attached to the coil. I put new gas in it. I changed the filter. I've done everything. So I don't know what could be causing it to do that. If you guys have any ideas, or if any of you live close by that want to come by and help me work on this thing, it runs as you just saw, but it's just got this weird like popping thing that it does every once in a while.
Water. It took about an hour total. Pretty dry out there. All that really matters is this top portion. The rest of it will seed itself through the winter.
I've also got to install the ceiling. Ben was helping me with that, but he's on to other projects. I'm very grateful for the time that he came. I'm also kind of out of money, so I don't really have money to pay him to finish installing this tongue and groove on the ceiling. Because, you know, he does charge a premium rate because he's really good at what he does. He does everything. You know, he knows how to do everything. And if he doesn't know how to do it, he knows the people that he can bring in to do it. Like drywall, he's not a big fan of drywall, but he brought a guy in who worked a really good rate and got my drywall in. But I've got this whole trailer full of tongue and groove pine that needs to be installed in the ceiling. And I thought about getting a nail gun and a compressor and trying it myself, but I don't know. I've just got like this mental block. I just don't feel like, I feel like I'd rather have someone do it who knows what they're doing. Because you have to, if you do it wrong, you can't undo it. You can't pull the planks off and reattach them. You pretty much have to go for it. And if, you know, and I've got some transitions in my ceiling, you know, as you saw inside. And so if any of you are nearby and want to come and help me put this up, I'll pay you. It won't be like what I pay Ben, but, you know, I'll give you a good hourly rate and we can have some fun while we're doing it. And I can help you obviously, because I'll be here.
Matters is this top portion. The rest of it will seat itself through the winter. And so I'm not too concerned about that. But as long as this top portion has some good year-round fescue, that'll cut down on the erosion and it won't look so horrible with all the weeds. Get these shades up, make sure I didn't break any windows. I have like a phobia now.
So the shades pretty much, you know, if a rock hits it, it's like a trampoline. It'll bounce off. That was the goal of these shades, to protect the windows.
Oh, good there.
Now I'm breathing hard because if any of you have ever lived on a ranch, or, you know, I mean, I'm on a 15-degree tilt, so just walking outside, you're getting exercise, right? Because you're going up and down this hill. And I'm all around, and I'm working on projects. I'm up and down the deck. It feels like you're climbing in like a treehouse almost. And it's really great exercise, great fresh air. The water's great here. I drink the water right out of the tap. There's no smell of chlorine. There's not a bunch of sediment in the in the water. When I lived in Lead Hill, there was a lot of sediment and calcium in the water, like too much, and I didn't feel well. Not as well as I do here. And Max told me the same thing. He's like, Dad, my shoulders hurt all the time. And I was wondering if we were getting like calcium poisoning or something. I don't know. But it would stain everything like really fast. Like it would build up on the fixtures, and you had to get like vinegar to take it off, and it would build up in the coffee maker. But here, I used the water right out of the tap. There's no film on the coffee maker or in the fixtures. It's like really good water here. So I just feel like healthier. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like this is where I want to live out my days. So that's it. That's the update on the Honey Milk Ranch. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll try to continue to keep you guys updated. As you see, a lot of people aren't interested in the Honey Milk Ranch, but that's okay. For those of you that are, it's a blessing. I feel like the entire purpose of this channel is to show everyone the way out of the beast. That's what God has told me. It's the life lesson, the main life lesson that I've learned after all the different episodes that I've been through in my life, having to start over several times with nothing to show for it. So I would hope that more and more people will begin to understand the value of the Honey Milk Ranch and what it represents in terms of this channel. This channel is an ark, and the Honey Milk Ranch is an ark. It's a place of refuge going into the last days. And there's always amazing spiritual symbolism that I see each and every day walking this property that I think would be very beneficial and ties directly into the rest of the work we do on the channel, which are the decodes. So I love you guys. I think I've probably kept you long enough. I am going to decode over the weekend Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I've got to do that one again. And I will put together a decode for you guys. We'll probably be back on Sunday, but probably not tomorrow, but for Sunday for sure. And let's go into the chat for a little bit. Awesome. Love you guys. Maiden voyage of the minivan campers planned for next week. Awesome, Tonette. I'm really happy for you. I know there are several of you doing the caravan life. Really cool. I hear some of your stories. And that's a great life. I would encourage you, if you're doing caravan life, definitely try to pick up some acreage somewhere so you'll always have a place to park your caravan if gas gets too expensive and stuff like that. You know, out here, it's still about $3,000 an acre. And your taxes on that are only going to be about $10 a year, $10, $20 a year. So, this is one place you could get some land and park your van or your caravan or your travel trailer if it all hits the fan. And there, as you see, there's so many trees here. There's a million places to hide. I built my place close to the top of the hill. That's the one thing I wish I would have done different, but on my particular property, there were really no other options. Like I'm pretty close to the road. But all my neighbors are cool. If they weren't cool, I'd feel a little bit different about it, but everybody's so nice and so cool. Thanks for the super chats, you guys. Let me read these. You guys are awesome. All right, that's Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. And oh, Sharon again. Thanks, Sharon. You have the ability to share being real to a creator for us all. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, beautiful. Who's that? That's Orlando, Florida. Amen. I love you guys. So, what was I talking about? Yeah, so there's a million places to hide here. If you haven't already felt the supernatural presence here, I'm hoping that I'm portraying it to you guys the way that I'm experiencing it. Just being here, all of the animal sightings on the trail cams, the foxes, the cats, the raccoon, it's all very, very special. And so that's how you know you're in the right place. So, okay. Much love to you guys. Oh, thanks, Allie. I appreciate that. Sarah says, all of you help me to feel normal, help me from being depressed. Amen. And you guys, I feel the same way about you. Literally, this world wouldn't make sense if we didn't all have each other, right? Especially when we all pick up on the same symbolism and the same stuff, and we see it and we don't feel so crazy. We don't feel like we're the only ones that see something or that we're somehow going crazy. And, the girl that had Lyme disease that was suffering said the same thing. When her father finally showed her the scan of her brain stem that was completely dark, she says, now I don't feel so crazy. I don't feel like this is all in my head. I'll leave you guys with that, and I hope you guys have a blessed weekend. Take care and be safe, everybody. Much love.